And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to a little bit of a gaming ramble. A little bit unprompted. This is actually sort of like a preview of a bigger video that I would like to make. It's actually not going to be all that long. But I wanted to talk about the Assassin's Creed Modern Day, okay? And on the channel, I had a video titled, Why is Ubisoft Desyncing the AC Modern Day? And this was in response to news articles that was saying that Ubisoft had removed the modern day sections of Assassin's Creed Black Flag from their resynced remake. And, well, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced came out. Surprise, surprise, it's pretty good. But please understand me when I say that pretty good does not mean infallible or perfect, because it's not. No. As of this recording on July 27th of 2026, I have clocked in about 9 or 10 hours into the game. I have about 9 parts of a Let's Play for it. And when I did it, when I started recording Black Flag Resynced, it was because I was curious. It was a new release. This is going to be the first Assassin's Creed game that I don't buy on my Xbox console. And I wanted to kind of, strike where the iron was hot and talk about something relevant, because I play a lot of old games here. And I wanted to have something new. So, fast forward, I go through, I do a retrospective on the first 2 to 3 sequences of Black Flag, the original from 2013, and then I start playing Resynced. And you get to the end of the first island. You kill Duncan Walpole, you find Stead Bonnet, and you swim out and you sail. I think that there was this glitch, this audio glitch, in the actual cutscene where you're supposed to have that really whimsical fiddle music, the orchestral, swelling while you're talking with Stead about being a privateer for 2 years.
And if I may say, so full of adventure. How marvelous.
I've seen my share of strangeness, aye.
You're a natural sailor, Duncan.
I did a decent trick at the helm some time ago. 2 years before the mast as a privateer.
Dash my buttons. Your life seems a grand one, if I may say. So full of adventure. How marvelous.
I've seen my share of strangeness, aye.
And there wasn't anything there. And I knew in my heart, Jeff knew they cut out the next scene. So I have a big issue here, because, and I'm probably gonna have the footage right here. It zooms out. It does the Animus glitch where we fast forward into time, and then normally you would boom, pop out, and there's Melanie LeMay. That doesn't happen. Because in the modern day of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, you are not the Abstergo Entertainment employee. You're not. But you're not just playing a pirate game either. I am so happy to say when I'm wrong. They could not have kept the same modern day section, because the modern day has evolved, okay? We have roughly, if I go and I look up, the Assassin's Creed games list, we've got Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhoods, Revelations, 3, Black Flag, Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, Mirage, and Shadows. Okay? Now, those are the major releases. We have major spin-offs inside games like Liberation for Assassin's Creed 3 and Freedom Cry, which was released standalone. There was also the Assassin's Creed Chronicles games for China, India, and Russia. I haven't played those, but, I'm starting to think that might be important. And then, of course, there was also Assassin's Creed Nexus VR, which technically does have canon stories in it, but I don't have a VR headset for all that, and we haven't even gotten to Odyssey. So, why would I do that? At least right now, okay? But now we have Black Flag Resynced, okay? The modern day, for the most part, has continued, all right? Assassin's Creed Phase 1, let's say, Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed 3. This is the Desmond phase, yeah? Very boots on the ground. Then, Desmond died. And then we're in Phase 2 with Liberation, Black Flag. Now, Liberation and Assassin's Creed 3 came out around the same time. But I say that Assassin's Creed Liberation is in the second phase, the Abstergo Entertainment phase, because in lore, Assassin's Creed Liberation is an edited memory sequence, right? Citizen E for Erudito, which is a whole thing that we're going to get into in the big video I'm planning, which is going to take me probably a year to just make. I love lore. Lore is so good. So, and by the way, if this seems a little bit different, I am not going off of a script. I am actually doing this straight up the cuff, and while I might be a little bit more tangential, some of my most favorite conversations that I've had with friends who are also, lore heads, happen when I just have a conversation. So I'm going to try and do that. Going back, Phase 2 of Assassin's Creed, in my opinion, this is my opinion, by the way. This is not Ubisoft's phase, because technically Phase 1, for Ubisoft at least, I believe was from Assassin's Creed to Syndicate. And then that's what they call Classic Creed, and then you've got the RPG games, which was from Origins all the way to Shadows. And then you've got this Resynced. But going back, we have Black Flag, Liberation, Rogue, and Freedom Cry. These are all a step off. You're not in the shoes of an assassin. You are someone using an animus. You're in two of the big features. You are an Abstergo Entertainment employee that gets wrapped up into it. We can only assume that the Black Flag employee either got laid off, killed, and stuffed into a back alley or something. And then the protagonist from Rogue actually either becomes a Templar or gets shot by Johanny Otzoberg at the end of that game. Like, ooh, And then we take another step back, okay? In Assassin's Creed Unity and Syndicate, I call this the Initiate's duology, because you never incorporated, you never physically played in the modern day, but you had cutscenes where you would interact with, not Oracle, because that's Batman. What was her name? Bishop. It was Bishop, I'm pretty sure. Let's take a look. So in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Unity and Syndicate, you play as a Helix user, or really, in Unity, you start off as a Helix user, which is the modern iteration of the entertainment animus that gets served, right? You play through a beginning where you play as a Templar in the service of Jacques de Molay, which was the leader of the Templars in 1307, right a couple hundred years after Assassin's Creed 1, in the Templars temple in Paris, right? They're attacked by knights under the service of King Philip, but also the assassins are there, and you die and whole thing. But you are pulled out of that in your memory stream, because I can only assume that this is streamed from the Abstergo cloud, right? The Helix, is an assassin known of Bishop, and you are let into this meta-narrative of the initiates. These are freedom fighter memory delvers that are very good at wiggling in between all of the little strange issues with the Animus and, poking holes in it. It's like the digital frontier is open. By the time that you transition to Syndicate, you are either the same Helix user, but later, or you are a true member of the Initiates. A lot of people, this is a year later, Bishop contacts the Helix Initiate, right? And you follow the modern day plot of Sean and Rebecca, so Sean Hastings and Rebecca Crane being field agents, field assassins for the first time. And you watch through camera drones, which are, by the way, named after several of the fallen assassins, which just kills me. Clay, Desmond, and Lucy. Anyway, so you are the assassin in the Animus, or I guess the initiate in the Animus, while the assassins in the modern day are going after the Shroud of Eden. Mostly because they don't want Abstergo to have it. But at the time I thought, they're going to, get the Shroud, and then they're going to try and steal whatever's left of Desmond, from Abstergo, and bring him back. It never happened. So Syndicate happens, and then in the middle of this, we also set up Juno, the Isu crazy woman who was freed into the cloud or the gray by Desmond in Assassin's Creed 3. Yeah, you remember Juno? Not a whole lot of people do, because they killed her off in a comic. Okay? Insane. Yeah. So, Juno is killed off in a issue where, and this is like 3 years later, in August of 2018, I believe, in this comic where the illegitimate son of Desmond Miles, I think his name is like Eli or maybe Elijah, who also is a sage, goes up against the instruments of the First Will, which also, because I talked about Johanny Otzoberg, his favorite subordinate, Agent DaCosta, had been turned during the events of Syndicate into one of the instruments of the First Will, because she was going to steal the Shroud for Juno, who, by the way, is resurrected into a clone body, and then she inhabits it. And she's totally killed in this comic. I believe it's yeah, it is in Assassin's Creed Uprising. It's this little comic, pretty cool-ish, and it's an entire series, right? And it marked the end of what they would call the Phoenix Project, which was the idea that they were going to bring back an Isu, right? I haven't read it myself, stayed away from it, but it helped transition away from that storyline and set up the Layla Hassan trilogy, which is where we're at now in the current marathon. Okay, so we take another step, not back, we take a step forward, and we're back boots on the ground in the Animus ourselves. But we pivot because we are not in any way attributed to the Assassins, okay? And without getting too much into it, we follow a new protagonist, which I love. Layla Hassan. She's an Animus technician, and she's been in contact with Sophia Ricken, the daughter of Alan Ricken, one of the top Templars at Abstergo Industries. It's crazy. He was Warren Vidick's boss, and Warren was incredibly important to this entire process. Though any time that you deal with the Templars, hierarchy is enforced, but ultimately not very important, because no one tool is greater than their aim. Okay? So, we go and we deal with Layla. And Layla is eventually involved in the issue. Goes through 3 games of craziness. That's going to be Origins, Valhalla, and Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. And comes to a place where she becomes something that I still don't understand. This is the issue about making a lore video when I'm in the middle of a marathon, which, hey Jeff, you probably should prioritize Assassin's Creed a little bit more. It has gotten hard because the games are so big. So I don't want to burn myself out. After Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we leave into another arc, okay? Assassin's Creed Mirage has dialogue which is so important in the intro. So important. Because it dates where you are in the timeline, which is modern day after Valhalla. And this narrator is telling someone something about Basim, which is the assassin of that game. Okay? I don't want to go into it. We will in detail later. But then Shadows comes out. And the issue with talking on Shadows is that a majority of their modern day lore is locked behind a battle pass. I've talked about this a little bit in my before going into Resynced video. You know, my let's talk about the Animus Hub, okay? So the Animus Hub comes out, and we have to grind dailies to get credits to get the battle pass, and like every third reward is lore, which is very frustrating for someone like me who is extremely invested in the modern day storyline, right? There are a couple of different things that you take a look at, right, in the Animus Hub. And it's very hard to do anything with that because you go through and take a look at projects. All right? So far, in Shadows, there was The Legacy, there was Awakening, there was Nemo Sign, Sanctuary, Defiance, and then 2 crossover projects in the wake of Riptides and Undertow. I'm taking a look right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 encrypted data files in the Legacy alone. And the Legacy has text and stories. Awakening does the same thing. And they go in the same, so that's 7, 14, 21, or whatever 7 times 3 is, you know. But it takes so much gameplay to just unlock these, alright? So then you go over to Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, and we have the crossover, which is Riptides and Undertow, but we also have a new one called Eye in the Dark, okay? And that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 data files, in addition to other collectibles that you can find in the overworld, a little bit more similar to the old Codex entries from Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood. That has another, a whole other story, which I haven't dove into because I'm only getting fragments and they're scattered across the world. And I'm not going to pay Ubisoft for a map to these things, so I'm just finding them as I go. And I've not read them all because I want to just sit down and read. I could go to the wiki, but I think that cheapens the allure. And then something else happened. A couple days ago, I was in the compound, and I went back to where you first go as you're going out and seeking Julian de Cas, right? Great Inuaga, or something like that. Inagua. And there were rifts in Shadows. And they told the story about Animus Ego and its counterpart. Yeah? I believe it was the Guide or the Truth, something like that. But there was what I would call the Warden, which is Animus Ego, and there was her counterpart, which I believe is referred to as the Guide. We are referred to as the Traveler, and we are a nondescript fragmentation. We are a person who is using the Animus, okay? And we are constantly being given information by Ego, which seems to be the forward-facing artificial intelligence in these games. And then there's the Guide, which seems to be a split. Yeah? Here's the thing, and I've never seen this happen in a modern fandom. You can go to the Assassin's Creed Wikipedia. We have so little information about these things that there is no Wikipedia article on the Guide or Ego. I'm trying actively to make sure that I bolster my knowledge, and so this is actually really old school internet stuff, because I can only tell you what I have done myself, and we're going to get into it on the channel, so I'm not going to talk about it here because of spoilers, and I don't even fully understand. But I know that Ego wants to tame you and control you and make things better because it's going to save you. The Guide ensures you should have the freedom to decide your own fate. Yeah. There's also another being, okay, in Shadows. It is the Eagle. This is really just considered the Eagle. This is a friend of the Guide. You free him and he leaves. And then you find this thing in a crazy rift that's really, really frightening. Yeah. They can't free themselves from Ego and tries to liberate other users just like you. And then they drop it. That's all there is. There are 3 interactions in the Shadows modern day, other than the encrypted data files. And then leaves. Says, "Don't weep for me. Follow the one at the helm and fight for truth, freedom, and independence." And then I did not understand at the time, but they're talking about Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. And so I'm playing through Resynced. I've not even really finished Shadows on my own, on my Xbox. And I get smacked in the head with the Resynced Rift, which continues the same story. So I can't say that they took out the modern day because it's different. And let me tell you why. While you explore the genetic memories of Edward Kenway, you are still an Animus user stuck in what they are calling the Dark Animus. You enter into however many rifts there are. I've only found one. And they show you alterations, alternate paths for, Edward Kenway. Probably going to continue to be Edward Kenway, but Ego, unlike in Shadows, directly looks at you and says, "I am trying to save you from making decisions that are going to hurt you, like Edward, like all of these pirates. Imagine what you could have done and build yourself up if you weren't constantly having to do these things that are not permissible." And they have this really well done sequence where you have to set aside Edward's dream of becoming a man worthy of respect and impressing his wife and making her proud of him, which, as a man, a formerly married man, you want to do that thing. You want to make sure that you are providing not only support, worth, but like there's a vulnerability that happens when you get married. This is not that video. I'm not making that video. But ego tries to make you, the Animus user, stop fighting and see their point of view. And the eagle shows up and urges you to resist, right? Helping to break you free. And I've not finished the other rifts. I need to find them. But they couldn't include the previous modern day because that's not what's going on anymore. In 2013, the Abstergo employee barely survived an encounter with a sage known as John Standish. But the modern day evolved, it kept moving. That's why it's not there. What we have is nothing compared to what we had. But it's not just missing, it's different because there are other things happening. At some point after Assassin's Creed Valhalla, something happened. Maybe even Mirage. Something happened, and I have the distinct feeling that either time has gone on so far, or something happened with the Animus and Abstergo and their whole net that made it very hard for humans to operate at all. This is a little bit of a lore video. It's a little bit of a rant, but it's also kind of like, I don't understand. And I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to speculate. I never speculate on the channel because everything, I come from, I know what this is. I don't know what's going on with the Assassin's Creed modern day. And they've lost me for a long time, but that rift and what I continue to do, that's got my attention. I don't know if Ubisoft watches little, Podunk 97 sub channels. But if this gets into the rotation of anybody from Ubisoft, or maybe you're another fan who really enjoyed the modern day in the past and you're like, what are they doing? Pay attention, because Ubisoft is doing something very strange. And as a lifelong Assassin's Creed fan, I'm paying attention, Ubisoft. What you do next is going to be very important in the discussion for handling your lore. We care about this. The Animus hub is not what I wanted. I thought it was going to be something much different. When the Animus hub first was shown, I thought that you were going to have an avatar or like a depiction, and it kind of goes like that. It's a launcher. It's a glorified Call of Duty launcher for the Assassin's Creed games. But I thought that you were going to tap into the bleeding effect and be using this assassin, this initiate, whoever you are, in more narrative ways. When Desmond was first starting out, the big thing about, your brain's kind of frying, but you're also becoming extremely helpful to, blades in the crowd, hoods in the crowd, boots on the ground assassins. One of the craziest things that Sean ever says to Desmond is, Desmond, the assassins that are actually out there doing something. And it hurt because Sean was cruel, but Sean was right. Fans have wanted to be in the modern day doing things that matter. Because the war, we're always told that the war is still going on, but we only ever fight it in the past. The fights with Daniel Cross, all that stuff. The fight with Johanny Otzoberg, just seeing all of that happen. Knowing that they're using the Animus to train assassins is crazy. And assassin-like Templars is crazy. We're at a junction point with the modern day. And I'm really wanting Ubisoft to find a way to make it mean something. Because they've got my attention. I don't know what these other rifts are. I really hope that I do. And I understand and I feel something. I am very interested in what Assassin's Creed Hex, or Hexa, is going to be, because we're going back in time again, and probably a little bit after Shadows. We're talking German witch trials. We were going to be called Elsa, but now we're called something else. Annika. I like Annika as a name better. Hexa is going to be the first game after Assassin's Creed Resynced. They hit a really good stride with this remake. They hit a similar stride with Mirage. But there are two very passionate fan bases in the Assassin's Creed ecosystem. There are old school fans. And to be fair, there's not even just two. There are people like me who enjoy not only the gameplay, but the story. Especially the modern day. There are people who prefer the old gameplay, but hate the modern day. They only care about the past. Then there are the new fans who, I don't know, I feel like if your first game was Origins, then you may feel a little bit, why does this matter? I would encourage you that if you're a fan of the modern day, and you're a fan of the RPG gameplay, it's not bad if something is different. You will always have your preference, but if you can appreciate what it is, you may find that you are a big fan of the Assassin's Creed story. The past, the present, and hopefully where it is going in the future. But Ubisoft is a company who is having to make games for many different kinds of fans. We see, with Bethesda, the issues of overgeneralizing your formula. If you're a game for everybody, you're really a game for nobody. So how do you appeal to the RPG fans, and how do you appeal to the classic fans? It may be the strategy that you just make both kinds. Assassin's Creed Hexa is supposed to be a action-adventure game. Possibly with some RPG elements, but with more of a focus like Mirage and Black Flag Resynced. And then after Hexa is the next big RPG. At least that's what I've heard. It could be the next big RPG. Who knows? But there is a way that if you cut out this strange little thing that Black Flag Resynced and Origins and Odyssey, Valhalla, Mirage, and Shadows, and unfortunately now Black Flag Resynced, has generated procedural animations. And then also the quality of the writing has just fallen off a cliff. It's apparent what is old content and what is new content with the quality of just the tone of the game. They feel completely separate. I'm glad that you padded out what you took out, but when I feel like there are two Edward Kenways, the classic and then the I hate to say it like this, but Edward Kenway in the original is a character. When he's doing old school quests and missions and everything like that, he feels so good. When he's doing any of the new content, he feels like someone who is going down a quest log. Well, then I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. Not necessarily what's in it for me, but I can see the worth in that. Edward would cut people's throat rather than be that passive or be that directed. Edward Kenway is the kind of guy that stabs a man wearing a very sinister hood, takes his clothes, and then goes and gets paid for a job he never actually did or finished. And then I'm going to go off onto an island and put my hands on my hips and be like, Mrs. Baldwin, how will I help you? How will I go out of my way when I'm looking for the observatory to help you rather than free you and you help me? But now you're going to add so many more stipulations because this is not just a quest, it's a quest line. It takes me out of it, man. I can appreciate game design. I can appreciate having time with a character. And I haven't gotten that far. But you know, someone I would really have liked to spend much more time with is James Kidd. It's been It's been almost 15 years. Let's just say it for what it is. Mary Read. Maybe we will, but if they do this weird other Edward with it, it's like when Mark Hamill couldn't be very vocal about what they did to Luke Skywalker during The Last Jedi. This isn't Edward Kenway. This is Ed Kinney. You know, this ramble's turning into an actual ramble. So let me wrap up. This new take on the modern day is not my cup of tea. I miss going and being like, okay, I'm wearing blue jeans and a hoodie, and now I'm in some kind of like crazy space temple. That's awesome. We went from that, and we did some of the like the corporate espionage things, and then we were a branch of the assassins, and then we were back in the khakis of someone, you know, actually in the archaeology. And now it feels like I am a person, so it's probably, you know, supposed to be me. I'm stuck in something called the Dark Animus, and it feels a little bit too close to the Matrix. I don't feel like my persona in Shadows and in Black Flag Resynced has the option to log out of the Animus, because Ego kept saying something. There are many like you who are lost in the Dark Animus. Then why not just unplug and go live your life? What if the people of the modern day, what if they can't leave? I'm super early into it, but that's my theory right now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for entertaining this little weird issue. Are any of you further out in the game than I am? Maybe you have a couple bit more details than I do. Who knows? Please avoid spoilers, because I'm trying to have fun with not knowing. But if you have any other theories, let me know down in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. I hope I can revisit this video in maybe a couple years and be like, wow, I'm glad we're finally getting our World War II Assassin's Creed, while an ancestor from, you know, all those years later in the modern day is doing, or a descendant is doing something crazy, trying to uncover a secret bunker where Hitler never killed himself, but he's actually, you know, on the moon because Isu had a bunker, and now he's being, well, whatever. You can have a lot of fun with it. Food for thought. If I was going to put a World War II Assassin's Creed, I would actually take a page from the story that was dramatized in the Tom Cruise film Valkyrie. A bunch of former Nazi Germans, or loyalist Germans, that don't agree with what the Nazis are doing and think that Hitler's going to run the fatherland down into the grave, try to kill him. You know, no one wants to put the tagline of, oh, you're a Nazi, but you're a good guy. But I think that would be a very interesting take on it. Maybe not even that you're a part of the military, but you're a German native in Berlin during that time would be crazy. You could bring it down to just Berlin, big Berlin, and you can't be doing crazy stuff because they're gonna shoot you with a tank or with a machine gun. So you've got to do that very World War I Lydia Fry-esque urban parkour and, you know, hide in the shadows. They can take it a lot from the Shadows technology and put it with that. But Germany, specifically Berlin, has that verticality and that dynamicness of the city that you could do really well. And then it's a race trying to get out of Berlin so that you can go over to the Wolves' Den and finally put a hidden blade in Hitler's neck. That'd be awesome. But we can get into Jeff's ideal Assassin's Creeds another time if there's interest. I am a writer, and so I'm always toying around with little fun things like that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope everyone's having a great day. Remember, nothing is true, everything's permitted, and keep telling stories.